Let me ask you a powerful question today. How many dreams have you delayed because of an excuse? How many opportunities passed you by because you said, I'll do it tomorrow? See, excuses are the comfort zone of the average person, but action is the currency of the successful. And today, I want to help you shift from being an excuse maker to becoming an unstoppable action taker, starting right now. Every excuse you make carries an invisible price tag, and most people never calculate how expensive their excuses really are. In economics, we call this the opportunity cost, the value of the best alternative you gave up when you chose something. Else, when you choose an excuse over action, you are choosing to give up income, growth, experience, and market positioning. Think about that for a moment. Every time you say, I'll start tomorrow, you are paying with your future. Every time you say, I'm not ready, you are transferring wealth from your potential self to someone who is willing to act right now. Here's the hook. The economy doesn't punish laziness, it rewards urgency. While you hesitate, someone else is capturing your customers, building your audience, and investing in the opportunities you ignored. Excuses feel cheap in the moment, but they are extremely expensive over time. You don't just lose money, you lose momentum, credibility, and compounding growth. Imagine two entrepreneurs with the same idea. One takes action immediately, launches imperfectly, learns from the market, and improves. The other waits for perfection. By the time the second person starts, the first has market share, brand recognition, and customer trust. The cost of waiting is domination by someone who didn't wait. That is opportunity cost in real life. Your career works the same way. When you avoid learning a skill, asking for a promotion, starting a side business, or investing in yourself, you are sacrificing future cash flow. Income is not just about what you earn today, it's about what you delay earning tomorrow. Excuses delay compounding. And compounding is the engine of wealth. The earlier you act, the longer your actions have to multiply. Here's another hook. Excuses are interest payments on a debt you didn't know you had. Every day you delay, the interest grows. The market moves. Technology changes. Competitors improve. And your opportunity window shrinks. The world doesn't pause while you get comfortable. It moves with or without you. So the next time you feel an excuse coming, ask yourself a simple economic question. What is this excuse costing me in 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years? Because in the economy of life, action is an investment, and excuses are the most expensive liability you will ever carry. Action is the most underrated economic multiplier in personal and business success. In economics, a multiplier effect means that one input creates multiple outputs. And that's exactly how action works in real life. One decision can unlock skills, networks, revenue, confidence, and opportunities you never predicted. Here's the hook. A single bold move today can create 10 results tomorrow. But 0 moves will always create 0 results. People think knowledge is power, but in the marketplace, applied knowledge is power. Action takes theory and converts it into assets. When you act, you create feedback loops. You learn faster, you adapt faster, and you outperform those who stay in planning mode. Planning has diminishing returns. Action has compounding returns. The market doesn't reward the smartest thinker. It rewards the fastest implementer who keeps improving. Think about entrepreneurs, investors, and innovators. Their breakthroughs came not from waiting for certainty, but from acting. In uncertainty, action multiplies your learning curve, your visibility, and your economic value. Here's another hook. Motion creates momentum, and momentum attracts money. When you start something, doors open that were invisible before. Partnerships form, customers appear, mentors notice you, and capital flows toward movement. Investors invest in traction. Employers promote execution. And customers pay for solutions that exist, not ideas that live in notebooks. Action turns you from a spectator into a market participant, and participants capture value. Every action you take also builds internal capital, confidence, discipline, and identity. The more you act, the more you see yourself as a producer rather than a consumer. That identity shift multiplies your output. You begin to think differently, negotiate differently, price differently, and lead differently. Action changes your economic trajectory because it changes how you perceive your own worth in the worst marketplace. Consider this. One video can build an audience. One product can create recurring revenue. One conversation can lead to a career breakthrough. One investment can compound for decades. Action is leverage. It is the force that turns small inputs into massive outcomes. Waiting has no multiplier. Hesitation has no leverage. Only action scales. So if you want exponential results, you must commit to exponential behavior. Consistent, imperfect, and courageous action. Because in the economy of success, action is the lever that multiplies everything you touch. Execution is the only thing that turns ideas into economic value in the marketplace. Ideas are free, but implementation is rare, and rarity creates value. You can have the smartest concept in the room, but if you don't execute, the market treats you like you don't exist. Here's the hook. The economy doesn't pay for potential, it pays for performance. Knowledge without action is intellectual entertainment, but knowledge with execution becomes intellectual property, products, services, and income streams. Every economy is built on problem solvers. Companies grow because someone took action to solve a problem. Entrepreneurs earn because they execute solutions people are willing to pay for. Employees get promoted because they deliver results, not because they had brilliant thoughts. Execution transforms ideas into tangible outcomes, and tangible outcomes create demand, trust, and cash flow. Think about technology, business, and innovation. Thousands of people had the idea for social media, ride sharing, online education, and digital banking. Only a few executed at scale. Those few captured billions in value. Why? Because execution creates first mover advantage, brand equity, and customer loyalty. When you execute, you move from dreaming about the market to dominating a segment of it. Here's another hook. Execution is the bridge between imagination and income. Your mind can create unlimited ideas, but your bank account only reflects what you execute. Execution is what converts mental capital into financial capital. When you launch, publish, build, sell, or invest, you are creating economic signals that attract customers, employers, and investors. Execution also builds credibility. Markets trust producers. People pay those who consistently deliver. When you execute repeatedly, you become a reliable economic agent, and reliability is a premium asset. Clients return, employers invest in you, and opportunities multiply. Execution compounds reputation, and reputation compounds revenue. Every executed action also creates data. Data leads to improvement, and improvement leads to competitive advantage. You refine your pricing, optimize your strategy, and increase efficiency. Efficiency is productivity, and productivity is income in economic terms. The person who executes learns faster than the person who studies forever, and learning speed is a competitive economic advantage. So remember this: ideas are seeds, but execution is the soil, water, and sunlight that makes them grow. Without execution, ideas die in notebooks and conversations. With execution, ideas become enterprises, influence, and wealth. Small actions, when repeated consistently, behave exactly like compound interest in economics. They grow slowly at first, then accelerate beyond imagination. People underestimate consistency because they want instant results. But the real economic power lies in repetition. Here's the hook. One action is ordinary, but one action repeated daily becomes extraordinary. The marketplace doesn't just reward big breakthroughs. It rewards people who show up and compound their effort. In finance, compound interest is called the eighth wonder of the world because money grows on top of money. In life and business, actions grow on top of actions. A daily habit of learning, creating, networking, or investing builds intellectual capital, social capital, and financial capital. The results might seem invisible in the beginning, but invisibility does not mean insignificance. The compounding curve is flat at first, then it explodes. Consider a person who improves their skill by just 1% each day. That improvement multiplies across years, turning average performance into elite performance. Another person who waits for motivation or perfect conditions stays stuck in linear growth, while the consistent person experiences exponential growth. That is the difference between scarcity and abundance in an economic sense. Here's another hook. Consistency turns effort into equity. Every blog post, every video, every business call, every investment deposit builds an asset that continues to pay dividends. You are not just working for today's income. You are building tomorrow in producing machine. Consistency creates systems, and systems create predictable cash flow. The economy favors people who can produce results predictably. Clients prefer consistent providers. Employers prefer consistent performers, and investors prefer consistent returns. When your actions are consistent, you reduce uncertainty, and reducing uncertainty increases your economic value. Reliability is currency in every market. Compounding also applies to relationships and reputation. Every positive interaction compounds trust. Every delivered promise compounds credibility. Over time, your name becomes an asset and your network becomes leverage. Opportunities flow to people who compound goodwill and performance. So when you feel like your daily actions are too small, remember this: small actions are not small when they are multiplied by time. Time is the amplifier. Consistency is the engine. Together, they create an economic force that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary wealth, influence, and impact. Risk is the entry fee for reward in every economic system, and the people who understand this principle position themselves on the side of growth rather than safety. Most individuals are trained to avoid risk, but the marketplace is designed to reward those who manage risk intelligently. Here's the hook. Playing safe is often the riskiest strategy of all. Inflation erodes savings. Competitors disrupt industries. And technology replaces jobs. Standing still is not neutral. It is economic decline. In economics, higher returns usually require higher risk. But smart risk is not reckless gambling. Smart risk is calculated, informed, and strategic. Entrepreneurs launch businesses, investors allocate capital, and professionals change careers not because they are reckless, but because they understand that uncertainty is the price of opportunity. Every major wealth creation story begins with someone stepping into uncertainty while others stayed comfortable. Here's another hook. Fear keeps you poor, while calculated risk makes you powerful. When you take action in uncertain conditions, you gain experience, data, and positioning. Even when outcomes are not perfect, the knowledge and connections you acquire become assets. The person who avoids risk avoids growth, while the person who embraces calculated risk builds an economic edge. Consider investing, entrepreneurship, and personal development. The stock market rewards investors who tolerate volatility. Businesses reward founders who tolerate uncertainty. Careers reward professionals who tolerate change. Risk is not a problem. Unmanaged risk is the problem. The goal is not to eliminate risk, but to understand, diversify, and leverage it. Risk also creates leverage. When you invest capital, time, or reputation into an opportunity, you open the door to exponential returns. One startup, one property, one skill pivot can multiply income for decades. Without risk, there is no leverage. And without leverage, growth remains linear and limited. Every successful individual develops a risk framework. They gather information, test small, measure results, and scale what works. This approach turns risk into strategy and uncertainty into advantage. While others wait for guarantees, they create guarantees through action. So every time you hesitate, remember this: security is an illusion, but growth is a decision. Risk is the bridge between where you are and where the economy rewards you to be. Productivity is the ultimate driver of income in any economic system. In simple terms, the more value you create per unit of time, the more the market is willing to pay you. Here's the hook. Your paycheck is not determined by your effort, but by your output. Effort is emotional, but output is economic. Markets are cold, logical, and transactional. They reward results, efficiency, and impact. In economics, productivity measures how efficiently resources are converted into goods and services. On a personal level, your skills, time, and energy are your resources. When you learn to convert those resources into solutions that people want, your earning potential increases dramatically. A highly productive worker, entrepreneur, or investor can outperform dozens of average performers, and the market pays them accordingly. Here's another hook. Income follows impact, and impact follows productivity. If you solve bigger problems faster and better, you command higher prices. A software developer who builds scalable systems, a marketer who generates consistent sales, a consultant who reduces costs, or a creator who attracts millions of viewers all get paid more because their productivity scales beyond their personal time. Productivity also attracts leverage. When your systems, content, products, or investments produce results without requiring your constant presence, you are no longer trading time for money. You are trading value for money. Leverage multiplies productivity, And productivity, multiplied by leverage, creates wealth. This is why business owners, investors, and digital creators can earn exponentially more than traditional employees. Efficiency is another economic advantage. When you optimize processes, automate tasks, and focus on high-value activities, you increase output without increasing effort. The market notices efficiency because efficiency lowers costs and increases profits. Profitable individuals are productive individuals. Productivity also compounds your reputation. People trust those who deliver consistently. Companies invest in those who produce consistently. Audiences follow those who create consistently. Consistency in productivity builds a track record, and a track record becomes an economic asset that attracts contracts, partnerships, and capital. So if you want to increase your income, don't just work harder. Work smarter. Scale your impact and multiply your output. In the economy of success, productivity is the engine that turns time into money and action into wealth. So today, I challenge you, stop being an excuse maker. Excuses are expensive. Action is profitable. Your life, your finances, and your legacy depend on what you do next, not what you say next. Decide today that you are done waiting, done doubting, done delaying. Become the person who gets it done, no matter what. Because the world doesn't reward talkers. The world rewards doers. And remember this, action is the rent you pay for the life you want to live. Pay it today.